Hey, everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Rahdo.
And you may... Whoops. Somehow I'm...
Oh, no!
Sorry, I left my own YouTube channel on, and it started playing in my back ear. Well, I was telling... there's one thing I'm really enjoying about everyone being stuck at home, and everyone is streaming and doing video now, and suddenly I'm a master at it. So many people, all these teachers, so many people are like, how do I do this? How do I get on the internet? And I'm like, ho, 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 ho.
Yeah. But then they tuned into this one and saw you totally forgot to not channel the sound directly into your ear.
But that's still master.
Speaking of which, if the audience could let me know, I'm actually flying earbudless right now. Tom and I did a sound check before we started, and it seemed fine. But in case I'm doubling up, could anybody let us know?
So, folks, what is this? It's a crossover here. This is the Dice Hour. If you're watching this, you know the channel, of course. And Rahdo has his own channel. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, hi. Yeah, I have a channel called Rahdo Runs Through. You can find it at youtube.com/Rahdo. I assume at some point Tom will, if he has not already, put the link down in the show notes.
It's in the description, yes.
Oh, speaking of which, by the way, Tom, you did put the link in the show notes, and you misspelled Rahdo.
In fact, I have it misspelled in the title here, which you couldn't see, and someone just pointed that out. But it's done. It's fixed.
Yeah. One of the most common things about my show is people misspell my name, Rahdo. My focus is on trying to capture the feel of what a game looks like. I don't really do reviews per se. Instead, I walk through the experience of a game and spend a lot of time, some people might argue too much time, articulating all the thought processes that go into every tactical strategic decision you make. And I do that so that you, the viewer, can decide if it's a game worth picking up. Because hopefully, by the time you've watched all my videos, you feel almost like you've played it yourself. And so you can make a more informed decision. That's really what I'm all about.
And so, just so you know, this is going to be a show that's going to be half the time on the Dice Tower, and the other half, it will be on Rahdo's channel. So you'll see us on both places. And in fact, this show's going to be one that we don't do all the time, and as the days go by. But right now, while we're all stuck at home for a while, we're going to be doing it twice a week for the at least very near future. And that might change, even though I apparently...
should say, when Tom first broached this topic, there was nothing about twice a week. And I said, oh, sure, that sounds fine. Bi-weekly.
Well, sure.
But then all of a sudden, at the last minute, oh, by the way, can you be here Friday as well? Okay.
Well, I also, when we first broached the topic, life was somewhat normal at
Indeed.
the time.
Yeah.
A lot of things have changed. So you said people are asking about why you're playing Gloomhaven, but I think there's an error there.
Indeed, yes. This is no Gloomhaven. There's no ship at sea sinking as we try to fight off these completely new creatures that can be found in Frosthaven, which is what you're looking at the moment.
Man, I gotta say, I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped about Frosthaven, just to see it. I think but I've deliberately. I won't even watch your preview right away because I'll just wait till it comes out just to get a little bit at a time, to jump into it.
Well.
So anyway, like we said, we'll be back on Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 11 Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you missed this one, which doesn't make any sense because you wouldn't be watching now then. So this is going to be a show that evolves and changes. If nothing else, I wanted to do it because we definitely have different opinions, and no matter how much we may argue back and forth, I think we get along pretty well.
I think so.
Despite the internet commentators. So, yes, as soon as the screen's off, the fisticuffs came out.
Yeah. Yep. No, I've been a fan of Tom's forever. I mean, he was part of the inspiration for me to actually, because I figured, hey, if this guy can do it, I can certainly do it. And and it's weird. More often than not, Tom and I agree. We agree on a lot of stuff. It's just certain games he just has no taste for, unfortunately.
I don't disagree with that part. And the fact is, at the end of the day, we both want to see people playing games. And at the end of the day, I think we both don't care if people like games that we don't, or vice versa. So we're going to do two segments today, and then at the end we'll take your questions. But for the first one, we're going to go through Board Game Geek. So if you look at Board Game Geek right now, there is a ton of different mechanisms here. Jeff Engelstein put all these together. He added these in, and you can see a whole pile of them here. And I think it will take us many weeks to go through all these, but we're going to start here with action drafting, going in somewhat alphabetical order, and just take a look at these. So
and we're skipping acting as a topic, the true opener.
Well, sure, but that's because hang on,
we're live, Tom.
I know we're live, and you know what? I just managed to take us off the screen, and I can't figure out how to get us back on.
I think people have had enough of this anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well, they're listening to us as we talk here. But anyway, so yes, you don't like acting, so we decided to just jump into straight up here.
I played Spyfall, and that's about it. So I wouldn't have had much to say, quite frankly.
Okay, so here we go. We're looking at these, and I'm gonna. How do you think we should sort these each time we do it? Should we sort them by Board Game Geek's rank or by the number of people who've played them?
Rank, but that's really interesting. Arguably, it's more popular based on the number of people, isn't it? Let me resort by that. Where are we?
Well, which one you pick? I don't care which one we sort by.
I'll go for. Well, let's go for owned. I think you're right. Actually, ultimately, that's a more telling metric than what a subset of players have actually rated it. So yeah, owned, which puts the number one title as a title that by the site's own definition is not action drafting, namely Agricola.
How are they getting action drafting out of that?
Well, specifically, players select from an assortment of actions in a shared pool. The available actions are limited in quantity, and once a player has chosen an action, it may not be chosen again. Note! Worker placement is a subset of this category, and games with that mechanism should be placed in that category instead. Somebody did not get the memo and left Agricola rated as one. Because obviously it's a worker placement game, and worker placement is a form of action drafting. It is literally action drafting, but just with a physical component that is the driving force of the draft.
I'm really trying to think of a way that this is action drafting. And the only way I could see it is possibly they consider the fact that there's so few... No, because if you pick an action, no one else can do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's... somebody mislabeled it. I, in fact, have already gone in and edited the database and have a pending change saying this should clearly not be here, and I cited their own definition, and so by the time, a week from now, this shouldn't be on the list, and we should move on to the next one, which is a true and probably the ultimate example of action drafting, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is probably why Jeff made this topic, this particular heading.
That's true. I have to say, I wish more games would do this. I really like this mechanism.
Yeah.
I think it's an entertaining one. It is, you pick the action and everyone else does it, but you get a bonus for doing it. Or at least that's how Puerto Rico does it.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a picture. Apparently, Aaliyah's making a 20th anniversary edition of Puerto Rico.
Didn't they already do that? No, they did 10th anniversary.
Yes.
They did a deluxe edition.
Oh, yeah, that's a great edition. I'm really glad to have it.
Yep.
So, yeah, Puerto Rico, that's not the highest rated one, actually, but definitely a lot of people own it. You have to imagine, think about this, 59,000 people on Board Game Geek say they own this game. And this is a gamer game, not like Catan or something like that. That's pretty high. Yeah. Then we have...
And it's also a game that officially doesn't support 2 players either, which, is a limiter for a game's potential market as well. It is great. I had the deluxe edition too, but I'm very sad I don't have it anymore because there was a time when it was, completely gone, and people would pay upwards of $150 for it. And so I sold mine, quite frankly, because I just couldn't justify keeping it on my shelf. I felt I was spreading the wealth and ensuring somebody else could have some joy while I made a little bit of money off of it. But I do miss it now, and I am glad to hear that another deluxe version is coming back. That is actually very good news.
So I didn't say deluxe. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Aaliyah's version of deluxe
Indeed.
is not quite the deluxe that I just look at it and go normal, or maybe
We'll
even
call
less
it-
than that.
We'll call it deluxe-ish, perhaps.
Okay.
I think might be a good way to put it. Actually looking at this list, the one that's most interesting to me, actually scroll down a little bit, is In the Year of the Dragon, which is a fantastic Stefan Feld game. And it has that same basic idea. Look, here's all the actions that are laid out in front of you. They're represented by tiles. Players take turn grabbing them. That determines what you're going to do in a given round. The thing that I'm so impressed by, this is probably the best use of action drafting I've seen, is the fact that to scale the game down to work well with 2 players, which for folks who don't know, that's really my focus, is 2-player gaming. What they do is every round, I forget what it is, I think there's 5 actions or 6, or I think it was 5 action tiles, maybe 7. It was an odd number. And a slightly larger than half of the percentage are randomly put into a pool, and the other half are put into another pool. So there's this amazing tension because, oh my gosh, I desperately need to do that action this turn, but I can see it ended up in the pool of the action that you want. And so unlike another game, unlike Puerto Rico, which originally didn't even support 2-player gaming because there was just so much stuff and they didn't really scale the game down, Year of the Dragon, because, I can take this pool or this pool, and then once I got the pool, I get 1 action, but I have taken that pool, denied you 3 other actions. It really ratchets up the tension, and it's a testament to just how great this mechanism is, and it's so flexible, and I am shocked. Since 2007, nobody in the industry has copied this, and this has got to be one of the most simple to implement and brilliant 2-player scaling mechanisms I have ever seen. And I don't know why other games don't do it. I guess I'm just putting it into the ear of all publishers. Copy Feld because he knows what he's doing.
Also, Twilight Imperium, 4th edition. This one's interesting to me that this is here. And when you read the back of the book where Christian Peterson talks about things, that one, he said Puerto Rico is something that inspired him. And that completely changed how this game works. I know you haven't played this one, 2-player.
No, I haven't, and I never will.
That's perfectly fine. But it has that whole Puerto Rico thing where you take an action, you do it, and everyone else also takes that action. It's kind of a fascinating, or they take a secondary action.
Yeah.
What other ones in here? There's a lot on this list that I would argue just aren't really.
Well, it's a new thing with Boardgamegeek trying to implement all these things. It's interesting. Grand Austria Hotel, I wouldn't have thought of Grand Austria Hotels. I thought of it as a dice drafting game. But the reality is, to be fair, those dice are associated with those little buckets on the board. So it's really kind of a 2-in-1. You're drafting the die and you're getting access to the space it's on as well, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Again, I think a lot of times with Boardgamegeek that people kind of jam these categories in sometimes. Like so far, I haven't seen, other than Puerto Rico, In the Year of the Dragon, and Twilight Imperium, I'm not seeing a lot of games that technically fit this category.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Barrage fits this category. That's just a straight-up worker placement game.
Yes, I think, and the same was true with Agricola as well. And I think people, I don't know, I mean, worker placement itself is kind of an odd duck to try to find. It's always open to a lot of interpretation.
Well, New Frontiers does, but that's because it is essentially a mix between Puerto Rico and Race for the Galaxy. Speaking of which, where's Race for the Galaxy?
Yeah.
I feel like
Race for the Galaxy, strictly speaking, you and I can both choose to explore. Me choosing explore is not denying you the opportunity to explore. Me choosing to explore when you opted to was a dumb move on my part because I should have piggybacked off of you, but we can both do it. And the definition of this, but the draft means, okay, once explore is gone, it's gone. No one else can do it. So I think that does make sense. And so I think probably a lot of the Puerto Rico inspired games, like what is the Tasty Minstrel card game? Eminent Domain.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like Eminent Domain and Glory to Rome, do they not fit in this category too?
No, because me choosing to do something doesn't doesn't keep you from it. I mean, it really goes back to that Puerto Rico. Here's what are they? The 5 actions: the produce and the settle and the ship. And once somebody does that, that's it. Nobody else can do this for that round until all of them come back, until everything's been drafted away. Citadels, of course, is a great example. But is Citadels? Man, I haven't played that in forever.
Citadels, you're a character, and you take the action, but nobody else takes that action.
Yeah. And it's also very cool because there's lots of interaction between if I take this action, I'm really in danger because somebody else takes the other action. Then they're going to come for me because they'll steal from me and stuff like that.
Someone in chat says Rising Sun, so that might work. Oh, Village.
Village is what is it? Oh,
Village is worker placement, isn't it?
No, it's every round. All those cubes come out of a bag and they're different colors, and the colors are kind of action dependent. But the color cubes let you go to different places. It's really a worker placement game where you draft your workers and then you use them. So, I don't know. I mean, I think there might not be as many pure examples of this as we think.
So this is a wide open thing here, folks, to do. Maybe Coloma?
No, because again, you and I could both go to the same wagon wheel spoke, and in which case things just went bad for both of us.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's a kissing cousin, at least, I think.
Yeah. Well, certainly inspired by, in the same way Race for the Galaxy was inspired by.
Yeah, I would really like to see more mechanisms here. I do see that this
on here. Speaking of Puerto Rico inspired games. Okay, come on, San Juan. I just checked the second page. It is not here. And San Juan is Puerto Rico.
Sure, but can't. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's the same. It's those 5 tiles. We take turns taking them.
All right. Well, either way, I have to say, if you told me a game had this mechanism, my interest level in it would be a 9 or 10. That's how much I'd like it, even though it's only in a few games.
Yeah,
I think it's fascinating.
Well, I think it's great because as another thing, if your audience doesn't know me very well, I focus on 2-player gaming. I also focus on gaming that really doesn't have a lot of player versus player stealing from each other or destroying each other's stuff. But I love interacting with other players. And any kind of draft is always going to, you're on pins and needles every time somebody picks something because what I do so very strongly affects everybody else. And Puerto Rico, the fact that everybody can piggyback off of what I do, it's kind of the high watermark for this is so wonderful because then the whole game is mind games. I could choose this, but I know Tom is going to choose it this round, so I should do this other thing and wait for him. And then Tom totally blows it and picks the thing he wasn't supposed to pick. And and those kinds of moments are really great and memorable, but they don't have to be great and memorable because I kicked your sandcastle down. So that's why these kind of things just work so well for my wife and me.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad way to look at it because if someone in Puerto Rico, for example, takes the role I want, which gives them that benefit, I still get to do it, although at a lesser ability, and then I still get to pick something on my turn. I still get something cool.
Yeah.
And that's always been kind of a thing in games I like, where I may not get the best thing, but at least I get something.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good category. I think we both agree there should be a lot more games in this category. Personally, I think more people should learn from Stefan Feld, who I believe did it better than anybody else in Year of the Dragon. You didn't actually respond at all. What are your thoughts on Year of the Dragon, Tom?
Well, I have not. No, I haven't played Year of the Dragon. It's one of the few games. I've read the rules, though. I understand the game. I dislike Notre Dame enough to know that I would not like the punishing aspect of In the Year of the Dragon.
There are few games that are more punishing than Year of the Dragon. I mean, it is a game for masochists, basically. But I think that's one of the reasons I love it.
No comment. Sure. All right. So that's our first category, our first segment, talking about mechanisms. For the next one, over to Rahdo.
Okay, well, this was an idea I had that I thought would be a lot of fun. And it's basically going to throw this to the audience. Anybody watching right now live, come up with a topic. This is kind of like, those improv shows or whatever. And, throw a topic at us that Tom and I could do a combined top 5 on. So you would get the ultimate Tomdo top 5 for whatever it is. And I imagine it should probably be game related, but I guess it could be other stuff. So if anybody has any particular things,
it's got to be interesting,
would like us
though.
to count down.
I swear, if it's what would you take on a deserted island? No, something interesting.
Tom will exercise some editorial control, I imagine.
And also remember, we got to come up with this stuff on the fly, so we may miss stuff that I do with my deep, searching that I do 5 minutes before we put these together.
Yeah.
So,
well, I got this idea because I have seen Tom in the past. I think on the podcast, or he'll just like go off, or in Q&As, somebody will say, "Hey Tom, what are your favorite key lime pies?" And he will instantly come up with and rank his top 5 key lime pies that he's had over the course of his lifetime. And I thought, well, I could do that, and we'll see if I can, because I have certainly not tried this before. And I see some suggestions are coming in, Tom. So do you see any good ones?
All right, I'm gonna pick 4 good ones, and then Rahdo will pick the winner of those. So
okay,
let me see here. Okay, so sandbox games, that's a good one. Dice versions of board games, I like that concept.
Meaning X the dice game, yeah.
And I think what I'm going to do for this particular one, folks, I'm going to pick board games, and maybe one week I'll pick stuff that's not board games. That way it's easier. Top 10 cutest meeples. All right. And actually, let me rephrase that one. Someone else said top 5 cutest games. So we'll say cutest games.
No, I kind of like the meeples, actually.
Oh,
I can think of one. So I probably shouldn't have chosen that then. Unfortunately.
And then let me see here. A lot of these are not top 5 gimmicks in games. All right, so we have gimmicks, cute games, dice versions of board games, and sandbox games.
Those are good choices. I have to admit, I like gimmicks.
All righty, so let me put that on the screen here. That is from Seth Hale. All right.
The once and for all, 100% infallible, perfect top 5 board game gimmicks, or gimmicks in board games, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm going to start out. My wife would never forgive me if I did not give all the love in the world to Zolkin the Mayan calendar. Because
of the wheels?
The rotating interlocked gears as a means of basically tracking time. Because the reality is, it's the toy factor of that game is phenomenal, and it is just really nice, and you make little sound effects as you're locking them into place and all of that. But that could have been replicated with just meeples put on a track, and every round you're just moving them from left to right and then taking them off a track. It could have totally been done that way. It must have cost them an arm and a leg to actually produce this game, but it is such a payoff. It is such a wonder. And I know a lot of people dismissed it when it first came out as, oh, look at this gimmick. But the game itself is amazing. And it's an example where the gimmick definitely improves the experience, I think. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree that it's a very good gimmick. My mind has switched on Zolkin, but it's a lot of it because of that wheel. When I first saw the wheel... No, listen. When I first saw the wheel, I was super excited. I was like, what? You're going to be spinning the wheel, and all these other wheels are spinning.
You wanted a Wheel of Fortune wheel.
Not so much a Wheel of Fortune, but I was thinking more of like, if I move this wheel 5 spaces, it moves this wheel to that, and this wheel to that, and this wheel to that, and wow. Yeah. And that wasn't what the game was. In fact, the wheel spins one time.
Wait. 10 minutes later.
And you know what? It works really well. So it's just that my expectations were skewed. I've since come around on it, and I'm fine. And I'm still waiting for a game that does have all the cogs that move.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah, who builds on that. You're right, because, there's a lot more that could be done with that gimmick. And I guess it's just no one's touched it because it'd be way too expensive to make it.
Possibly. I don't know. Here's my gimmick. This is one that's used a lot now in Kickstarters as an upgrade.
Okay.
But the more I see it in games, the more I like it, and I can't explain why. It's just cool, and that's that UV coating. It's on boxes a lot, but sometimes it's on the board, too.
Definitely a gimmick. Totally.
It's totally unnecessary, and yet it makes the game feel like almost twice as valuable. I don't know how to explain it. If you don't know what
I
we're talking about,
I mean, specifically, Stonemaire's doing that all the time now with their manuals. And you pick up this manual, and it feels like, wow, this should be read by royalty.
No, I'm not talking about linen finish.
That's linen finish, right?
UV coating is when you look at the box and part of the print is raised slightly. It's shinier. It's like not 3D printing, but it's just a little bit different. It's a little bit raised off, and a lot of companies are making their boxes with this UV coating. You pick them up, and you can actually feel where they did it, and it gives it a slight three-dimensional look, and it has no bearing on the game at all.
But you're saying it works on you?
Especially when it's on the board. It makes board pop for me. I don't know what it is. I shouldn't, be as enamored with it as I am, but it makes me happy.
I have to say, for the most part, I'm not a particular fan of it because it's a pain because you end up creating glare on those things when you're actually trying to film it.
That's a very unique problem to you and me.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm sure everybody's been there. Sooner or later, everybody has this problem.
That's how I feel sometimes when I get a glossy box. I'm like, such a pain to shoot on camera.
All right, that's a good gimmick. That's a good. And you're right. I mean, that is totally gimmick. I have to admit, my gimmick focus is more about game stuff because I mean, this is something. Whenever Jan and I play a new game and it has some novel gameplay element, which is basically what she likes calling gimmicks, she just instantly falls in love and just is buzzing about it for a week. So another one, you might disagree. You might not call this a gimmick, but I will call it a gimmick because so far, it's been a decade, and it has not been anywhere near as successful as it should be. I'm going to talk about the Cube Towers of Wallenstein and Shogun, and then you've got Amerigo.
I love them.
I love it to death. And I mean, Wallenstein and Shogun are of zero interest to me in Gen because they're ultimately, moving around, area control, fighting everybody for dominance. When Stefan Feld took that idea and completely turned it on its head for Amerigo and turned it into an action selection mechanism where, I throw this stuff in and because I really want to do these, and they didn't come out. Or these other ones came out, they were thrown into there 3 rounds ago. Oh, should I do this action instead now? But there's still one more in there. I could wait on that. It's just awesome as a way to, really spice up and create, unexpected outcomes without just saying, let's just draw from an event deck or let's just roll some dice and see what the dice tell us. Because, it's like that tower develops a personality. It's like, why are you holding all the yellows? Where are they? You're a monster. And so, that's a real fun one. And honestly, I don't know why you don't see these all the time. They are so much more interesting and engaging. Just tactile fun to take a bunch of things and drop them in there and you get that kind of, pachinko feel. I would love to see more of those. And I would love to see a transparent one so I could actually see all those cubes. And
actually, there is
right on the edge.
There is one.
Oh.
I believe, I found it on Boardgamegeek. It's called Prospectus. This is from Mr. B Games. It's a stock market style game that is a stock market in a fantasy world for some reason.
Yeah, about stock market, but it's potion alchemical stuff, right?
Yeah, it has a big crystal ball, which is essentially one of these towers, and you can drop the stuff in, and some of it falls out, and that affects the stock market prices as the game goes by.
Yeah, that is awesome. Although, if I recall correctly, that game didn't support 2 players, which is why I never played it. So it's dead.
Yeah, I don't remember. Well, what about I think Age of Dirt does not support 2 players either.
No, it does. But you're right. That's the new one that it just came out, right? I haven't.
That's
played
from WizKids. Yeah, that one has I think that might work with 2. Yeah, it's definitely that's a silly game in a sense. Mm-hmm. You're doing action selections, and then you throw these little meeples in the tower, and the ones that come out, that's how many of the action you get to take. But you're right. There's not many. There's the 3 we just mentioned, and then we mentioned Shogun / Wallenstein, and then there's In the Year of the Crusades or something like that. It's only in German, and I don't think you would like this game much at all because you're a bunch of crusaders running around and just sacking everything. No matter what city you come across, be it a Christian or a Muslim city, you just raid it because you need this stuff. It's very historically accurate, I guess, in that regard, but it's akin to a war game almost.
Yeah, you know what? There is another one coming out, and I'm so embarrassed. I can't remember the name of it because I did a video for it when it was on Kickstarter. I'm looking for it, and there it is, the Stygian Society from Kevin Wilson, designer.
Okay.
And it's a cooperative game where we're each, I know you'd have a problem because we're fairly typical, bog standard fantasy characters. But every round, the actions we're doing get thrown into the tower, and the one that comes out, indicates what type of actions we're going to be able to do. And it's a cooperative game, and if you're a wizard, you happen to have more white cubes, which indicate magic spells. So you might I'm going to only throw a couple of melee attacks and a bunch of white cubes in here, but then they all got stuck in the tower, but we're fighting a monster that is only weak against magic. Why did you fail, Tom? You're the worst wizard ever. When in fact it's the tower's fault. It's pretty cool. I think, well, fingers crossed it'll be coming out this year, because who knows what's going on. Not that we're going there. But yeah, that's another one. So maybe
Edge
it won't
of
be as
Darkness?
long. Maybe it will become a standard as common as dice rolling, because why wouldn't it?
Edge of Darkness, no, that doesn't actually count because they always come out. You just don't know where they're going to come out.
But that is a good gimmick, though. What do you think about that? I think, if I recall correctly, didn't you say Edge of Darkness was just too much?
For
me,
me,
needed, dial it back by 20% or something.
Well, they did dial it back. They from what I understand, Edge of Darkness was his original game, and they split off the card part of it and made Mystic Veil. That's a gimmick in of itself, by the way. The clear cards. But yeah, the tower itself is this really huge tower, and you drop a cube in, and it comes out in one of these 3 spots.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't know if the size of that tower is worth the excitement of seeing those cubes come out. But the new...
You're right, they were reminding me. We actually really enjoyed that too. When Jen saw that tower for the first time, her eyes just lit up. Just because, again, the tactile, fun nature of it, that kind of casino slot machine feel that it has. The fact that it makes noise. Board games are generally, even the most exciting and dramatic of them, very quiet.
That's the
they
truth
just
of
sit
it.
there silently, not moving. So anything that can bring that kind of, and kids games have this all the time. Your Lupin Louis and whatnot. But games for gamers, why don't we get to have fun?
Well, we do
stuff?
actually. The newest thing about this whole dice tower, the cube tower thing, is actual Dark Tower. The new Dark Tower is a cube tower, and it has noise and sound effects and lights. And it's a tower that actually evolves because you take doors off of it as the game progresses, so there's more places for the skulls to fall out. In fact, I played this, and I would say a good 50% of my enjoyment was that tower, which is good because it's the name of the game.
Yeah. Well, if it is the name of the game, they better get it right.
So, how about... I'm going to move my mic back so that we're a little bit closer in volume. Okay, how about for my next gimmick? I already mentioned this game just previously, but the gimmick fascinates me so much, and that's Coloma. The magnetic wheel in the middle.
Oh, the magnets.
I don't know what it was. I sat there. I stood 5 feet from it. I threw the magnet at the board to see if I could make it hit and land in that right spot.
That's not how you play the game. I hope that didn't show up in your video.
No, I don't know what it was. I just thought it was amusing to me, but I hate the little plastic things that you stick in wheels on the boards.
Yeah, and they make the table wobble, or the board wobble because they won't lie flat anymore, and
And so this was definitely a gimmick, this magnetic wheel, magnets, but it worked so well. And when someone showed me that there was a wheel on top of a wheel and they both were magnets, I was just astounded. Now, the game is good outside that. That has nothing to do with whether the game is good or not. But, man, I want to see this in more games. I love magnets in general. Magnets are a good gimmick to get me in the game, but they're often not utilized very well.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, magnets as a gimmick as a whole. What is it? There's that Der Flug de Mumie or whatever.
Yeah, that's a pretty good use of magnets.
Yeah. So magnets in general, I think, are criminally underused, making every one of their appearances a gimmick, and that's a real shame because, well, no, I mean, is the Earth running out of magnets? I don't know. I have to admit, I'm not really keen or up to date on that. I know we're running out of so many important elements. We're running out of helium and all these other things, but hopefully the board game industry can still keep the magnets coming, I suppose.
All right, last gimmick is you. You get 3.
Okay.
Because I highly agree with your cube tower one. So I'll claim that jointly.
Okay. So we all right. So we got one entry that everybody agrees with. If Jen were here, she's really good at this.
Oh yeah, someone said the magnets and the faceless. That's a good use of magnets too.
Oh my gosh, the compass, or as you would say, how do you say compass?
I say compass.
Say it. Compass.
The compass. I'll work on it. I live in Pennsylvania. We didn't say anything
I was
right.
Just gonna say it's a northeastern thing, right? The compass.
We say water, too, which drives my family crazy.
Yeah, but no, that compass, that was really cool. And you're right, it is another use of magnets, but oh man, yeah, anything. I guess that's kind of a consistency thing. Anything that makes the game move is going to be something that's very, very cool.
Oh yeah, there's
this Masters of Renaissance. I don't know if I think you did play it. It's basically Lorenzo El Magnifico. They call it Lorenzo El Magnifico the dice game, but it's really Lorenzo El Magnifico the marble game when it boils right down to it.
That's the truth of
you got
it.
this grid of marbles, you slide them in, the other one. It's just so satisfying. I often don't pick, right? I feel like not picking the best marble for me, but picking the one that will make the marble come at the top of the channel and slide all the way down. And even though I don't even need this, why did I pick that one?
The first time I was playing it, I said to the people at the table, I said, I don't know if I'm winning or not, but the satisfaction of pushing these marbles is so high. I don't care. I just want to take resources the whole game.
Yep. All right. Well, there we go.
So marbles,
is
is that the 5th one, marbles? Because you could then slide that around to gizmos and potion explosion.
Oh gosh, yes, of course. You're right. Yeah.
So just marbles in general.
With that conveyor belt thing and potion explosion is the same thing. Yeah. I'm going to say marbles. The industry needs more magnetic marbles.
We've lost our marbles. Give us them back.
Towers, with laminations on them, and I forgot what the 5th one was.
UV, towers, marbles, magnets, and whatever
the gears from Zolkin.
The gears. That was very specific to one game, but yes.
Yeah. Well, my wife did not forgive me. I wonder, did the audience have any suggestions? Probably didn't ask them any.
Well, they spent a long time arguing what's a gimmick or not. VR glasses.
Open with that. That would have been That would have been a professional choice to make, I suppose.
VR glasses, lasers.
Lasers, right? That chess Egyptian tomb game, right?
Ripping stuff up in a game.
Would you? I wouldn't call Legacy a gimmick at all.
It might have been a gimmick the first time you've done it, I guess.
Yes. I guess that's kind of part of what has to define as a gimmick is, has it been normalized? Because if so, it's no longer a gimmick. Once upon a time, the idea of rolling dice and writing down your results was a gimmick in the 50s when Yahtzee did it. But now it's standard.
That's true. Well, we could go on forever about is it a gimmick or a game mechanism, but we have 20 so minutes left, folks. Okay. Now's your chance to ask us questions, so ask away in the comments, and we will possibly answer them if they're interesting.
Yeah. Again, you exercise editorial control. You wield that like a hammer.
Someone said the dice tower is a gimmick. They meant actual dice towers. All right. Sand timers is a good gimmick.
Sand timers as workers in a real-time worker placement game. I think that's a cool new thing because you've got Kitchen Rush and you've got the new medical one and the Tales of Pirates. And I think I can think of maybe one more. That is a good one though. And it's one I hope catches on and is no longer a gimmick because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know though. It's my problem with those kind of games is there's so few people who will play them with me.
Really?
Yeah. When a game involves speed, it's problematic because somebody is going to be faster than other people, and if you're just faster, it's hard for them to win.
Yeah.
And also, you don't get to see what the other players are doing, and you look up and you're doing this. I don't know. I feel like they work, but it's a very small subset of gamers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I ultimately think it probably lends itself more to cooperative play when it boils right down to it.
All right, Alex says, I don't know if you played The King's Dilemma. Have you?
No, I so want to.
Oh, but it's 3 to 5, isn't it?
Exactly. I actually tracked those guys down at a convention and said, where is my 2-player variant? Come up with a dummy that will automate voting so my wife and I can play this game. Because I fully suspect it probably would have made my top 10 of the year from everything I've heard about it.
Well, let me ask you this then. So he's specifically talking about the King's Dilemma here, but what if you could play legacy games on a tabletop simulator? Do you think that might appease the people who are afeared of ripping up cards and stickering boards and things?
Well, yeah, except I would imagine those people are also afeared of digital interfering with their animal. I imagine the Venn diagram has a lot of overlap there.
Keep board games the same. Don't. But yes, maybe so. I still want my dynamic digital board game. And a legacy way would be a cool way to do that, as in I reveal this spot and it's different in my game than it might be in your game. I want to mix between legacy and the unique games that Fantasy Flight is putting out.
Yeah. There's a gimmick where, and gosh, are we ever going to see it beyond Keyforge in the game that shall not be named? I don't know. But wow, yeah, that's a fantastic gimmick, which I'm sure they can pull off and nobody else can because of their economies of scale, I imagine. For folks who don't know, Keyforge is a dueling Magic the Gathering-esque card game where when you buy a deck, it is completely unique. There's not another deck of all the tens of thousands of copies that are in the retail market that matches your deck because they've mastered a printing technology that kind of randomly jumbles together keywords and art and all of that. And I love that idea. I would love to see that happen more often. I would love to see that applied to Agricola or something like that.
Well, speaking of this, yes. So I was listening to somebody put this 6-hour podcast up on the internet, and so I was in hour whatever, listening.
Yes. What fool one would do it, and what other fool would listen to it?
That's what people have been telling me. But so I was listening to
my last podcast was 6 hours long, folks.
You were talking about Magic the Gathering, and you had some thoughts on. On the brokenness of Magic the Gathering. So
no, not brokenness. Old-fashionedness. It is. I believe Magic the Gathering, as a designed system, has been largely made obsolete by games that have stood on its shoulders. Because I had to play Magic the Gathering a couple of months ago when I had my nephew and niece visiting, and their whole everybody they know are into it, all their kids, friends, and all that. And man, right away got mana screwed. And then the second game, I got the opposite, where I have too much mana and not enough stuff. And third game, there was no third game. And these days, I wish somebody had just whispered in Richard Garfield's ear when he was working on this. Multi-use cards. They're an amazing thing. Hey, I could play this as a source of mana, or I could play it, or I could tap it. Magic could be so hugely improved on. And didn't I hear you talking about a recent variant that is catching popularity of, hey, you know what? There is no mana in everybody's lands. There's just a mana pool off to the side that everybody can share or something like that?
Well, that's actually what I was going to talk to you about. I was curious what you would think of the idea. It's called a battle box.
Okay.
There's 100 cards that you make a pool of all 5 colors. And then each person gets 5 basic lands and 5 dual lands so that you have all 3 mana 3 times.
Are they they're in play right from the get-go?
No, they're exiled. They're basically out of the game. But each turn you can bring 1 land into play. And then you play Magic normally. Except that you have these random decks. So you didn't actually deck build. You're just utilizing the cards that you have.
Okay. I think that sounds fantastic.
It's really fun, especially for a casual person. I don't care. I'm not trying to build this super deck. I just like, ooh, this is a cool card. Can I use it? Well, I can use it.
Yeah.
It's just, it makes it a little bit longer of a game because it takes you a while to whittle. You can't pull these mega combos off. but
Yeah.
I really like it a lot. All right.
I like it. I like the idea of that, and also, that I was mostly just thinking of, oh look, there's a readily available pool of mana, so my deck can just be all about that stuff. And then you're saying it almost sounds. When my wife and I back in the day when we were hugely into Magic, back around 3rd edition Ice Age era, I still have boxes full of Fallen Kingdoms in an attic somewhere because that got so overproduced. But we pretty much only played in tournaments that were sealed deck. We loved sealed deck. Hey, here's your 2 starters, your whatever it was, 2 boosters. You got 10 minutes, make a deck and go, and then play that deck for the rest. But you're like constantly tweaking it because when we played them, there were real stakes. Every match moves me forward on the ladder, but also I win your anti-card, and I'll put it in my deck. And yeah, that was good fun. Because of that joy of discovery. I imagine it's that same kind of joy of what is this going to give me is why you love what do you call it, Epic Thunderstone, I think, your variant that was so well loved it became official.
Well, again, it's Richard Launius. I just messed around with it some.
Yeah.
But all right, let's go back to questions.
Okay, yes, they're probably in a few by now.
Any chance you two will visit Vasco da Gama together? Actually, this is
Friday, a live playthrough of Vasco da Gama on whatever online site is, whether it's Board Game Arena or whatever.
We are 1 month away from the 10-year anniversary of my review of that game. I was just looking up, games I reviewed 10 years ago, and I noticed that, and I was like, interesting.
Is that a sneak peek?
No, look, I think Paulo Mori is an amazing designer, and I like many of his other games.
Yes.
So,
I mean, Vasco da Gama was clearly not the game for you, let's just say.
How are the chickens faring, Richard? Chickens.
The chickens are great, actually. We had a pretty weak winter with them. I mean, we have 12 chickens. We have a dozen chickens out there, and we were getting maybe 2 or 3 eggs a day because they were all molting at the same time. But they seem to have bended around the corner, and now we're getting 9 or 10 eggs a day. There's an open field adjacent, and we got permission that we can allow the chickens to go out into that field more because we've set up some chicken wire. So our chickens are living their best lives at this point. The craziest thing, Hattie, which is a tiny little chicken, it has one of those mop top heads, and we've had her for over a year. We thought, is she a rooster? She still hasn't laid anything. She recently started laying, and her eggs are literally, I am not exaggerating, a third of her entire body size. We assumed he was going to be like dropping little pigeon eggs or something like that, but they're like full-size eggs out of this chicken that's about the size of a pigeon. So yeah, we like eggs.
Do they taste different?
My wife swears they do, but they do not. They do not. You'll notice is the yolks are, if we ever have store-bought yolks, they're to us they feel pale and sickly because they have kind of like a shallow yellow feel, whereas the yolks in our eggs, because we know, they're grass-fed and they're bugs, and we've got buckets of all these grubs that are dried that we can feed them and stuff like that. And their yolks are like a deep, rich orange. And I swear they taste exactly the same. It really doesn't matter. But my wife swears that every time she has to eat store-bought eggs, it's like she's turning her nose up at them.
I was at a farmer's market a few weeks ago, and they had ostrich eggs, but they were $10 a pop. And I thought, I don't know if an ostrich egg is worth $10, and I don't want to mess it up, right? I didn't want to open it and ruin it. All right.
You only live once, Tom.
What new game to you do you think the other would really like? So I'll start here because I actually was telling Richard about this before we started, and I think the new Fallout Shelter game, I think he'll like that a lot. It's a nice little worker placement game that there's a little bit of luck in it. There's a little bit of rolled dice, but the dice are very manipulative. You can manipulate the dice quite a bit. It's simple, it's fast, it's fun. I don't know. I just found myself really enjoying it.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned that just before the show, to which I replied, I might, but with my background with Bethesda Softworks from my former video game life, I'll have to put that out of my mind.
Just do this when you're playing. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. I'll just have to pretend it's Mad Max instead of the Fallout universe. Let's see. That's a good question. What is new to me?
Come on.
I know you. play.
Well, you have way more opportunity than me because you're playing the Kickstarter stuff. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I haven't seen any of it.
Let's see. I feel I've got a couple that I think would be great for Z.
Z's not here.
No, he is not. Oh, you know what? Okay. I just covered an expansion for a game that came out a couple of years ago. I don't remember you ever covering Squires for Hire? Or Squire for Hire?
No.
Yeah, they had a small Kickstarter a couple of years ago. They're doing Mystic Runes as a new Kickstarter. It'll be coming soon, and it's awesome. I know how much you love Circle the Wagons, right?
I do. It's called Mystic what?
It's called Squire for Hire. And the new version that's coming out is Squire for Hire Mystic Runes.
Got it.
It's basically Circle the Wagons in a fantasy setting. The way we're having to stack and meld cards together is us creating our adventurer's bag of loot. Every time we complete a quest, that means we get to pick from one of two cards to add to our bag, and we have to, cover up existing things and put things next to each other to score bonus points based on the unique character attributes we've got, whether we're a druid squire or a knight squire or something like that. And like Circle the Wagons, the whole game is a deck of whatever, 18 cards, but it just works so well. It's so much fun, and surprisingly, is very, very thematic. Because all the cards are two-sided. On one side, there is the grid that you're going to use to be, doing your layout stuff. The other side is the quest you have to complete based on the stuff you've already got in your bag. It's really sharp, and considering how much you love Circle the Wagons, and oh my God, I only recently discovered it. I love Circle the Wagons, and I was really impressed. When we did our thing in Vegas, and you mentioned a most influential game, Love Letter, because of the micro game, but then I kind of shot you down by saying, well, yeah, but was it really a thing? Are there microgames anymore? I think microgames might be making a comeback, baby. And Squire for Hire and Circle the Wagons and the other one from that's the city building game, Sprawlopolis, are proving maybe there is a future for microgames as well. And I think you will definitely like this one.
This looks really good. I'm really enjoying how that one looks. All right, you've sold me.
All right.
Alrighty, let's see. So someone just said, Kabuki Kid said 18 card games are sort of a gimmick.
Yes. Unless they reach critical mass and they become a thing. And I kind of do hope but when you mentioned it and I was saying, well, I don't know if they ever caught on, I'm rooting for them to make a comeback. It's just, that first wave of them was just all inspired by Love Letter. So it was just another social deduction game, another deduction game, another puzzle-y, I've only got 2 cards, what could it be? And I mean, I got tired of that really quick. But these games show you can do you can do a lot more with 18 cards. And so, fingers crossed, it's a bold new future.
It says, Rahdo, if you were in Tom's local game group, how often would you play the likely bad games he takes along with him? And I'm going to add an addendum here and assume you're not a reviewer at the same time.
Oh, I'm just a normal Joe?
Well, you got to take that out of your... Because otherwise you just would say, I don't have time to do them. I got to look at the games I'm going to review.
Do you literally sit down to the table and say, okay, everybody, I'm going to warn you. I've read the rules for this. It's garbage, but we're going to play it.
No, what I say...
How forthcoming are you with that?
This is what I always say. I say, I don't know if this game is good or not. It looks good or it doesn't look good. Because I'm usually learning the rules at the table. I'll say one of those two things. And I always say, listen... I didn't design this game. I didn't publish it. So if you hate this game, you are not hurting my feelings by saying so. And it's up to you. And a few people will sometimes say, okay, I'll look for something else. But there's usually a few people willing to take the plunge because they're hoping, as I am, that the game is good. Despite, I don't ever sit down playing a game hoping it's bad.
Right. You always have an open mind, even if you have suspicions.
I do have suspicions sometimes, but if I think a game is horrific from reading the rules, I probably won't even play it. If it smells so bad from a distance, I'm like, I'm not touching this one. Usually,
so there's got to be something in there that, whether it's, even if it's just the box cover or the art, there's got to be something that made you say, okay, this gets over the hump, I'll put it on the table, I'll give it an hour. To answer the question, I know for a fact I would join him because... that's my natural predilection. I want to see everything. I've designed games for 20 years. I I consider myself a student of game design, and I love seeing new ideas, even new ideas implemented poorly. I will definitely enjoy saying, "Oh my gosh, this is such a great idea! If only they'd done this, this, and this, or if this were put in this other game," because I like studying them. I used to when I first started my channel. I was a lot more laissez-faire and would cover just about everything until the day came that my wife said, "Yeah, maybe we could take a break from playing these games for a while." And I realized she did not have the same open opinion about just the enjoyment of mechanisms. She needs to actually enjoy the game. And so now I only play games that I'm pretty confident are going to be good. And I know I turned down a lot of things where that sounds like a really cool idea, but oh my God, that's going to be such a terrible game. I just very politely say, "I'm sorry, I don't think it's a good fit for us. Have a good shot with your Kickstarter campaign or whatever." So yeah, especially because I believe, especially if it's just me and Tom, we could both be, I know people who watch my show wouldn't believe this, we can both be pretty decisive. And if it's not going well, we could probably get through it pretty quick, I think, as well.
Yeah, and there's also it doesn't happen very often,
Yeah.
but there's also the jettisoned games. But recently, I remember this, just recently we were playing a game, and everyone was like, "Not that great of a game." And I was like, "Let's do it!" And we all pushed, and at one point, I was like, "Okay, I guess we don't have to finish." And somebody else was like, "No, we'll finish it!" And so we did. And then we put it away.
Yeah. Somebody was doing the Samwise, "I can't carry your burden, but I'll carry you," up the steps of Mount Doom.
It's yeah, it is.
Spoiler
what it is.
alert, I suppose. Sorry, folks. If
I'm sorry. It's in the book. It came out in the 50s. All right.
It's a great line.
What theme? This is a question that's asked a lot, but I figured we could answer it. What theme are we most attracted to and would like to see more in new games?
Boy, that is asked a lot.
Isn't
it? I know
But my
your
answer-
go-to for a long time was supermarkets, and now you just broadened it to food, correct?
Well, now there's a lot of food games, so I'm okay. But for me, any theme that just feels different and unique, and I'm like, wow, I haven't seen that before. That always gets me excited when there's a theme I haven't seen before. Like bees was interesting to me, and then there's 8 games about bees. And then I was like, oh, okay. But if there's something that's just unique and different, like I know a lot of people weren't, Mezzo did not take off, but the fact that it was about Aztec gods, I was like, ooh, that's cool. There's not many games that do that sort of thing.
Yeah. I never know what to say when people ask this because I'm on record as loving trading in the Mediterranean. And quite frankly, every time somebody asks me what
It's a
would I
fault.
make, I would probably make a trading in the Mediterranean game. Just because there's something about the economics of a simpler time. Not that it was necessarily a simpler time, but it's just, it feels like, because I like Euro games, which are by and large economic games, and I like games where I feel like I'm somebody in the world, even if that somebody is a feckless, middle manager, in some shipping company, and that's his whole job, as long as I can get into it. But I agree with you. Like, the other day, I covered a game that's on Kickstarter. It's still on Kickstarter now, called Lawyer Up. And the thing is, I signed up for that. I broke my own rule. I knew Jen and I were not going to like that game. But I was so excited about a give and take card tug of war battle game that was 100% themed off of legal dramas. And I read the rules and said, wow, this really leans hard into it. I just wanted to experience that. And it was so cool. As we were playing it, I kept saying, Your Honor, may I approach the bench? And ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I mean, every time I would play a card, I kept doing that because I was just so into it. And it's an example of a theme that works brilliantly. It works so well for, gameplay mechanisms, card gameplay mechanisms. And there are very few of them out there. There's only a couple others that I know of. So I agree with Tom. I love it when somebody does it, but I don't mind. I am perfectly happy playing more generic, vanilla, Tolkien-inspired fantasy. I got no problem with fighters and druids fighting goblins and orcs and dragons. Bring them on. I'm happy.
You were doing so well. That lawyer game sounds super interesting. I think I'll have to wait a year to see it, but I'm very pumped about it.
Yeah. That would have been. I thought about mentioning that one as well. That I recently played that. I mean, I don't see. I mean, oh man, it really does have kind of a what do you call it? A Twilight struggle vibe too. I mean, not that there's a board where instead of a board where we're conquering, there's 12 jurors, and we're fighting for control, pushing the influence one way or the other on these 12 jurors, trying to outplay cards. Oh, that's a really good card for you. Yeah, that card's gone. It's really nicely done. And like I said, Jen and I, we kind of hated the entire time we were playing it because it was just like we were constantly messing with each other and ruining each other. But we really enjoyed it too, just because we love legal dramas. You can't handle the truth, I believe. What? I yelled at the point.
Objection!
Exactly.
All right. Well, folks, that's that. That's an hour.
Right.
Time's up. But the good news is, I don't think either one of us has run out of things to talk about. So we'll be back Friday with more to talk about, more things. We hope to see you guys then. Stay safe, everybody. There's more live stuff going up. We got a live chat going up tonight here in the Dice Tower. Not a lot of other live shows will be going on over the next few weeks, but we will be doing those chats every night. And then the next time we do this, it's not on this channel, it's on Rahdo's channel. And if you look at the description of this video, you'll see a link there. And also, you will see other good videos there on his site. I've been told.
Wow, I was afraid there. There's something. I knew it was coming.
I'm sorry. I tried to hold. Okay. All right.
It's fine.
Well, thank you, everybody.
My show is an acquired taste. I'll warn folks that right now.
Well, most shows are, if you think about it. I got to go watch this Tiger show on Netflix. I heard about it. I heard that's an acquired taste. So there's this new crazy show on Netflix about tigers or lions, or about people who raise them. Mike Delisio says it's rocker, but he says it's amazing.
All right.
So, alrighty. We'll circle back in Friday, folks. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Richard Rahdo.
And we'll see y'all guys later.
Bye, everybody.